All right, Aries, now damn it. Once again, from Lay Vampire, you pulled discipline, training, consistency, and practice. And then from Chakra Wisdom, you pulled expansion. Now, there's a difference, though, this time why discipline is showing up. And it may be because there are people surrounding you that are not really supporting you and what it is that you're wanting to do. But discipline, the blessing, talks about how you have the ability to create a program of change and stick to it. And after a period of time, it will transform from painful to pleasurable. The freedom and strength it affords you far outweighs the pain you experience in the short term. And again, working with this card, lay down a plan to create structure and stick to your commitments. But I think that the reason why you may have problems with that, again, is because of expansion. The inspiration says that seeking good advice is vital when you are pushing into new territory. Stay away from anyone who is critical of your dreams. This indicates possibly changing your friends. The personal question says, how can I create powerful alliances? Are new people entering my life? Key ideas are wise counsel, fruitful collaboration, spiritual support, state of uncertainty, and being guided. So I think for some of you right now, the reason why you're having troubles with, sticking to the commitments that you have set for yourself is because you may be surrounded by people who truly are not supportive of what you are trying to do. Now, on the other hand, it could be a situation here where you are needing to expand that supportive group of people to work with, especially when you are doing something new. But either way, all right, Aries, here we go. Here's the energy coming through. Okay, so the Page of Cups. The Page of Cups, when you're looking at a person, this could be somebody who is, maybe a little bit emotionally immature. This could be you dealing with a new emotional experience, or this is messages coming through that has to do with love, creativity. We shall see where this Page of Cups is going, but you're looking at something emotional, new emotional experience. Oh, and in the past, judgment, shit. Now, for some of you, this is the wake-up call, right? Like hearing that calling, understanding what it is that you need to do. The other part of it, though, it is very much the review, assessment, atonement, and rebirth. You're making judgments here. You're making judgments on the things that have happened in the past. Judgment, reviewing the past. And here it is, your past coming through. And maybe making some different judgments here when it comes to, maybe emotional offers coming through, new beginnings. But wow, man, very nice, very nice. And that's good to see for Aries because you being the first fire sign, recognition is important, right? Seeing the Six of Wands, though, as present conditions is saying victory, victory over adversity. There is a feeling of accomplishment here, but there's also the recognition for a job well done. And for some of you, this could be a situation here where somebody is recognizing you for, hitting that wake-up call. And there may be some communication coming through. Wow, look at the pages. Future conditions, the Page of Pentacles. When I see the Page of Pentacles, I think of somebody who is willing to learn something new, who is willing to work their way from the bottom to the top. And again, it's a new experience for you. And for some of you, this could definitely be a new job, something that, makes you happy, a new creative endeavor, going back to school, learning something new. The Page of Pentacles, it's the earthly things, right? But ultimately what it leads to is for you to start seeing like some serious financial gain. But you're willing to put in some hard work here, very much the student, right? And maybe learning some lessons here with looking at judgment. Wow, your best path to follow, the Page of Swords. Here's the thing. When I see this in this position, it takes on a totally different meaning for me. This usually is the messenger of conflict. These are the messages that you don't want to hear. It's asking you to act with intelligence and grace and be truthful. But then on the other hand, there's also that part here too where when you have communication coming through, especially if you have somebody who is recognizing you. It is important here for you to ask questions. Ask a lot of questions, especially if they are offering you something new in terms of creative endeavors that possibly have to do with new money. Whatever the situation is here, you have to make sure that what is being said to you is truth. You don't want to be questioning on whether or not this is something that, is real. I mean, it's a little bit different than the moon showing up, but then again, whatever messages you receive from the Page of Swords, you have to wonder, are they giving you these messages for their own gain? Or, is this something that maybe for some of you, it's not what you really want to put your time and effort into? But I do think for some of you, it is a brand new beginning here. I mean, you've got 3 pages going on. Definitely a lot of communication. And it may be because of, some recognition here. You may have been doing something really well. And now new offers are being presented. I just think that you need to ask a lot of questions before you do anything. In your environment, very nice, very nice. The Magician. You know what it is that you want. I think that you feel very confident in what it is that you are trying to manifest, and definitely you have the skills. Absolutely, you have the skills to manifest whatever you want, but you're thinking big here. But again, before you start making, any definite plans or, making any for sure decisions, you're going to have to ask some questions. You have to get clarity here, mental clarity when it comes to the Page of Swords, especially if you're receiving all this different communication happening. But I think that you're acting differently, seeing Judgment. Things are different. You're not being rash or hasty. I think that you've looked at yourself first. I do think that there are new emotional experiences that are happening for you, definitely with that Page of Cups, but you know what it is that you're trying to manifest in your life. I don't think that there is a question on that. I think the question is what is being offered? Is this what I want? Is this what I'm willing to put my time and effort into? Oh, your hopes and your fears. So, when you look at Judgment as the past coming through and you're looking at the 9 of Swords here, to me, it's saying that I think for a lot of you, you're fearing falling back into old thinking patterns. Especially, if you've dealt with some difficult things that have left you in a bad mental spot. This is anguish, mental anguish, regret, feelings of despair. And you don't want to do that. I think maybe... for some of you, you're looking at a situation differently. If you have somebody coming through that is giving you new messages, that is creating, new emotional experiences for you, it's one of those things where you need to get rid of whatever bad mental thinking you have because, Judgment, again, being the past coming through. You've reviewed all this shit because when you're looking at the 9 of Swords, this is effect. This isn't the cause. That's why the 3 of Swords is connected with this. It's cause and effect. So what you've been through before, this is the effect of it. But, if you're making new judgments, I think it's just a fear that you're going to fall back into the same, mental pattern. Which, again, goes back to the Page of Swords. If you have new things coming through, you're going to have to ask questions. You need to ask some questions, right? But I do feel like you are pretty confident in yourself and what it is that you want to manifest. I don't think that there is a question on that. I think the question needs to be, what are the intentions of the new people that are coming into your life, Oh, wow. Wow, Aries. The Hierophant. Woo, yeah, you are learning something new. You are definitely learning something new. Looking at the Page of Pentacles connected to the Hierophant, definitely you're putting in some time and effort here to learn something new. And again, it goes back to some of you may be going back to school, some of you may be getting a new job or a new position within your job. I mean, it's one of those things where you're definitely doing some learning. The other thing with the Hierophant is a better spiritual connection. And when you're talking about expansion, it definitely could be somebody coming through that is giving you that spiritual support. Again, with expansion. Maybe helping you to clear through that mental block. Because this is all the mental shit that we do to ourselves. And there's no reason to be thinking this way. But I just think that you're fearing falling back into old mental patterns. With this heavy energy coming through, I think that, you've cleared most of that up. It's just that now when, new experiences come through, it's one of those things where mentally, I don't think for sure if it has been truly cleared up. Needing to ask questions, needing to be clear, needing to have mental clarity. But again, there's still that confidence. You still have confidence in yourself and what it is you're planning on doing and what you're manifesting in your life. And you're thinking big and you're definitely learning something new. Definitely. And that recognition that's coming through, it may be, again, from people, outside people that may truly be supportive of you. Again, new people expanding in your life. But I do like seeing the Hierophant coming out because there is a grounded feeling with that, It's also about doing what you know is right for you. Because he very much is about doing things in the traditional sense. It's not about rocking the boat, right? But I'm not seeing anything that's suggesting that you need to. I think you need to do what you know works for you when it comes to what you're learning, what you're willing to put your time and effort into, and where you are emotionally. Do what is right for you. Do what you know is right for you. All right, Aries, we're going to take a look at the soul trees to see what other messages there are for you guys. But I do like seeing the Magician and the Hierophant. It almost outshines that Nine of Swords. I just think you're afraid of falling back into mental patterns that I believe are over and done with. I just think that maybe some of you are hanging on to it a little bit. Like, I've been through so much and I've made these internal changes big time, right? Do I really want to do something else that may fall back into this? And then the other thing too is don't think negatively about yourself either. Have confidence in the things that you're manifesting. And then you have patience, and then you guys have an extra one, love. Wow. I don't think I've ever seen the cards jump out like this. Pisces kind of had the same energy. Inner voice. It is important to listen to your inner voice. If your inner voice is telling you to be patient when you're going through the rebirth process, absolutely you need to listen. And it is so important to keep love in your heart. Whatever it is that you're learning, whatever new things are coming through, you want to have a love for it. But it's also important to act with love in your heart as well. But I do think that your inner voice is telling you to be patient. Be patient with yourself when going through this rebirth process. Don't give in to the fears here of, blocking yourself mentally and whatever negative mental thinking you may be doing. Question that. Question everything, right? But see things clearly. See things clearly for what they are. And be sure that you are willing to put your time and effort into something new. New love. Nice. A new person has stirred your romantic feelings. And that could definitely be the case. Are you willing to put in some time to this relationship and make it a traditional thing? Possibly. Possibly. All right, Aries couples. What are the messages for Aries couples? There it is. Romantic feelings. Your feelings are real and worth exploring. Absolutely. Especially if you're in a new relationship and this is a new love for you. You want to express those feelings. So relationships look great for you guys. I think things are going to be fine in terms of love. And I'm glad that love showed up. I just think that you need to have patience when you're with yourself. Pay attention to that inner voice. Ask those questions. Question everything. Because that rebirth process was not for nothing. And you don't want to be blocking yourself when new things start to show up for you. All right, Aries. So I think it is important for some of you. If you are deciding to do something new here, you have to make sure that you stick to this. Because I do think that you are on the path to learning something new here. Especially if you've gone through this energy here, you're definitely hitting a rebirth. I mean, absolutely. But I do think that for some of you, you're going to have to be patient with yourself and pay attention to that inner voice. Because I do think that it's leading you into a spot here where you start putting your time and effort into something that you love. And I do think that with expansion coming through and then seeing the Hierophant, this could definitely be a situation where you have a new person coming through, or a new group of people for that matter, that actually supports what you are trying to do. And this could definitely be a situation here where you have an opportunity to start working towards something new. You've done a great job, and you're being recognized for it. And that may be the reason why these people are coming through, but it's also important to stay away from people who are not supportive. And I do think that you need to ask questions, and I think you need to ask questions of yourself when it comes to the way that you're thinking. I think that this is just a fear of you falling back into old mental patterns, especially when you're facing new emotional experiences. But either way, I do think that you are learning something new here that there is a love for. Because what would be the point of you putting time and effort into something if you didn't actually want to do it, right? You have to have love for the things that you're doing. But I do think, though, that you are confident in yourself. You know what it is that you want to manifest. And I do think that you need to stay true to yourself and do what you know works for you. Especially, again, with that energy of judgment coming through and having gone through that process, right? But again, you are going through that rebirth, which is great to see. Now, for those of you who are single, new love, that's perfect. It's perfect. And then for those of you who are in a relationship, if you are starting a new love, romantic feelings, it is worth expressing those feelings. But I do like seeing the Hierophant coming out, especially with expansion, because I do see this as somebody that is truly supporting you and the plans that you have for yourself.